Can text alone transmit genuine emotion? Chapter 1. The quiet voltage of words. The message is only 3 words long. Come home now. No exclamation point, no heart emoji, no voice recording, no shaky video, just 3 blunt syllables and the pale glow of your screen in a hallway that smells faintly of after rain. In the small quiet before your thumb unlocks the door, you feel it a ripple under the skin, a tightening in the chest, the sense that a room you can't yet see has already shifted. The words have done this. They traveled through cables and clouds and corporate servers. They were typed by another hand. Yet here they are in your palm, electric. They have crossed whatever distance lies between 2 lives and found your pulse. If text were just ink, just pixels, just an arrangement of marks, this wouldn't be possible. But text is not only a surface, it is a conductor. And sometimes, when you meet it with attention, text becomes a body of its own, with breath enough to fog the glass between you and someone else's weather. The question that guides us, then, is simple and difficult. Can text alone transmit genuine emotion? Let me not answer too quickly. Let me begin with how often it already does, quietly, daily, without ceremony. The 3-word message that tightened your chest, the 2-word reply that unknotted your worry, all safe, the letter from a grandmother, her script tilted right, as if she were leaning across the years to reach you. The caption under a photo of a hospital wristband, the line of a poem you memorized once without deciding to, how strange it is, to be anything at all, and how it returns on subways, in dentist chairs, on winter walks where the breath you exhale looks like speech. There is a way language sits down next to us. Sometimes it knocks, sometimes it slips in when we're half distracted and refuses to leave. Sometimes it cries out with trumpets. Sometimes it is the single violin you notice after the orchestra stops. If that feeling is not emotion felt, embodied, real, what name would we give it? Yet skepticism is not foolish. We have all watched words misfire, a joke that curdled, a compliment that landed like a paperweight, a carefully worded apology that read like an invoice for your forgiveness. We have read the same words at noon and at midnight and found 2 different meanings, 2 different weights. We have placed our hearts in a text message and received the 1-word answer that belongs to no one. K. How can a black symbol on a white field carry a pulse? How can silent marks convey the warmth of breath, the salt of tears, the pressure of a hand? The short answer is that they can't unless we do our part. The longer answer is that text is not a machine with a single button. It is a duet, and like all duets, it depends on more than one throat. The fact that writing can feel like electricity in the body does not mean the electricity originates only from the line we read. It means the line is a copper wire, and we, too, have a current. To understand how that current forms, to understand the conditions under which text can transmit genuine emotion, we need to watch words at work, to stop them mid-flight and look at the vents and valves they fly through, because it turns out emotion does not merely live in words, it's encoded in their timing, their arrangement, their insinuations, the way they use silence as much as sound. Try this in your mind. Read these lines to yourself with the tiny voice that speaks when your eyes move. I can't come. I can't come. I can't come. I can't come. Same words, different spines. The first feels like a door shut politely but not softly. The second is a hinge with oil on it, an apology with a hand on your shoulder. The third stutters. It holds grief and maybe a desire to be persuaded. The last, well, now we are somewhere else entirely. Punctuation is a kind of choreography. Pauses become the space where you step closer to the speaker or stop, uncertain. The text is still only marks, but the body reading the marks supplies the breath, the cadence, the history of things like this that have happened before. That history matters. A text from a number you don't recognize reads, "Call me," and you shrug. A text from your brother reads, "Call me," and your heart beats quicker because you remember the last time he wrote that way and what followed. Text does not appear on a blank stage. It walks into rooms you've furnished with your own memories. So does that make emotion in text fake, just a trick of you to yourself? No, it makes it collaborative. If you and I stand at the window watching lightning far across the dark, and I say, "There," and you see it, has the lightning become false because it needed our eyes? The reality of an emotion isn't diminished by the fact that it requires a reader. Your sorrow when you read the phrase, "no longer with us," isn't a trick. It is a physiological event, measurable and particular, triggered by symbols that touch a string in you that was strung long before the message arrived. We need to admit something else. Much of what we call voice in writing is body smuggled into language. Rhythm is heartbeat. Stress is muscle. Long sentences, breathless and winding, mimic the way we talk when we stop mid-thought to pick up the next and then the next. When ideas arrive like friends interrupting each other in the hallway, urgent and laughing. Short sentences are breath exhaled. They are the hand that says enough on the table. They carry finality, sometimes tenderness, sometimes the cold click of a latch. Look how tone reshapes the same statement. I'm here, I'm here, I'm here, I'm here. The uncrowned version, the one without quotation marks, feels like someone standing next to you rather than someone saying they are. The period says, quietly, "This is not up for debate." The ellipsis introduces an ache or a distance. The exclamation mark is a reunion in an airport terminal. None of this is a secret. If you hold the lines inside your head and listen to them, you can hear how your voice adapts. The text has told it how. But this book is not a catalog of punctuation tricks. The deeper question is about truth. Not can we produce an emotion by typing? Can we transmit a genuine emotion? Genuine, there's a word that bears looking into. It implies more than intensity. It implies honesty, coherence, origin. A genuine leather jacket is not merely convincing. It shares the material of the real. A genuine emotion, then, is one that corresponds to a real state in a real person, expressed without falsification. Here we confront the oldest complaint about writing, that it is too easy to arrange an as if. We can write, "I was devastated," when we were not. We can perform regret, simulate awe, counterfeit tenderness, but counterfeits only exist because real money does. The possibility of false feeling tells us the form is capable of carrying the real, or there would be nothing to imitate. And readers are not fools. They carry lie detectors built of 1,000 tiny signals. Does the story risk specificity? Does it welcome contradiction? Does it avoid the cheap polish of generic grief and generic joy? We feel the difference between the sentence that tidies experience and the sentence that has dirt under its fingernails. Listen to 2 apologies. I'm sorry for the inconvenience I may have caused. I'm sorry I didn't text you when I said I would. You had your bag packed and your coat on by the door. I chose to finish the meeting anyway, and I chose not to tell you why. I wanted to avoid your disappointment. That made it worse. Can I fix dinner tomorrow night? I'll be there by 6. Both are text. Only one feels like it carries the weight of a body at the door. The second does a few things that text can do exceptionally well. It names actions rather than only feelings. It accepts accountability without scaffolding itself in vagaries. It makes an offering that could be accepted or refused. Does it convey genuine remorse? If remorse is a willingness to admit harm and to change future action, the text doesn't merely simulate it, it enacts it. The suspicion that words are only husks also underestimates how much of our emotional life is built by imagination, even in the presence of bodies. If someone says, "I love you" in a room, your brain does not measure the decibels of love in the air. It pieces together tone, posture, timing, history. It guesses. The guess is an act of imagination grounded in reality. Reading is a more concentrated form of that guesswork. When text moves us, it's not because we have been tricked, it's because we have been asked to imagine with discipline. Discipline matters. If you've ever cried reading a novel on a bus while pretending you had allergies, you know that text can bypass the elbow-to-elbow world and travel straight inward. How? Through attention to detail, to sequence, to the geometry of revelation. A television show gives you the actor's face. A book gives you the cadence of a breath described and requires you to build the face yourself. That labor, the labor of building, attaches us to the structure we make. The emotion we feel is not less real because we built it with language. If anything, it is more ours. Let's walk with an example. 2 lines. When my father died, I felt broken. At the airport, the automatic doors wheezed open and the smell of antiseptic came in. Mom's voicemail said, "He's asking for you." I watched a plane lift off, heavy and silent on the other side of glass, and for a moment the world looked like it had been unplugged. The first line declares a fact of feeling. The second arranges a stage where the reader can feel something like it. The antiseptic smell, the wheeze of the doors, the plane lifting in silence, none of these are emotion words. They are sensory hooks. They give the reader's body a place to stand. The text, then, doesn't just announce the news of grief. It gives you an experience that, inside your own imagination, becomes grief-shaped. The specificity makes it trustworthy, which is to say, capable of carrying a genuine thing. We can name a handful of techniques that help words shoulder that weight. Specificity over declaration. Sequence over summary. Silence used as structure, not filler. Contradiction welcomed as part of truth. Action paired with interiority. Temporal rhythms that imitate how emotion actually moves. Surges, stutters, lulls. None of these require emojis or vocal cords. They require listening to how the mind actually experiences a feeling and then constructing a text that lets the reader experience the shape of that feeling too. But we should be honest about obstacles. Text can disappear into itself. Irony corrodes sincerity if used as a shield. Sarcasm, which at dinner makes everyone laugh, on the page becomes a knife without a hand on it. Cultural codes differ. What reads as restrained nobility in one context reads as coldness in another. And in this era, with screens nesting inside screens, the flood of words can numb us. Everything looks like an announcement posted on a bulletin board already full. If every subject line is urgent, none are. If every sentence performs wonder, wonder thins. Yet there is a dignity to the written line that resists this erosion. It must be made deliberately. It demands choosing. Even haste must be constructed. Its clipped clauses, its misspellings, its rushed syntax are all small decisions, even when they happen quickly. In speech, our errors can be forgotten with the next breath. In text, we can see what we made. That visibility gives both writer and reader the chance to test the line against the heart. Do these words carry the charge they claim? If not, why not? What is missing? The image, the accountability, the silence, the risk. Nothing travels better across distance than risk. When someone risks saying the precise thing, even if it is clumsy, the reader recognizes the import. Precision is a kindness. To name your own contradictions is a greater kindness still. Text that carries genuine emotion often contains a fracture line. I love this new city and I want to go home. I'm angry you forgot me and relieved it wasn't on purpose. I don't know what to do and I have to do something. Such double-lit truths invite the reader into the place where the feeling moves, which is the place where the feeling lives. Consider the smallest text in the world, a name. To see your name in a message, the right spelling, the particular nickname that belongs to you and only a handful of people, can quicken the entire paragraph that follows. Names are invitations to presence. So are times. I'll be there at 6:12, someone writes, and the precise minute does more than a general promise. It sounds like a person taking the shape of a plan. Text can carry the feel of someone stepping into a day with you. Maybe you want proof that text alone has always done this. Think of the scrap of papyrus, the postcard from 1945, the diary entry folded into a box and left for decades until a granddaughter opens it and hears her grandmother's day. Snow, colder, the bread didn't rise, and feels what? An ordinary intimacy. The two of them now share a kitchen that never existed. Or think of the time you read a fable from 2,000 years ago and found your own worry curled inside it, shared by someone whose sandals would have blistered if they had walked the miles you drive in an hour. When text carries across centuries, the emotion it carries can outlast every technology built to simulate it. We do not, however, live in papyrus times. We live in push notifications. Short forms shape how we feel things. In chat threads, emotion is sometimes compressed into inventions and reactions that are not words but typographic gestures. The modern complaint says these are inferior to voice, to touch. And of course, there are things voice does that text cannot, and touch does that neither voice nor text can. But we err when we treat these as rival gods. They are instruments. A violin cannot play a trumpet's call. A trumpet cannot draw a hummingbird out of a hedge. Text can draw out a particular kind of hummingbird. It can invite reflection while offering contact. It can be returned to. It can outlast the breath it would have taken to speak. It can be copied and carried and considered and folded under a pillow. The audiobook you will make from these pages contains a paradox. I am writing about text in a form you will hear, but if you close your eyes now and listen to how the sentences move long, then short, wide, then narrow, you will find I have been using sound all along. Writing is a kind of listening to an unheard voice, and reading is a kind of speaking with your insides. That is why text can be honest, because it must be built with silence, and silence is where we can hear ourselves. Genuine, then, does not require immediate Sometimes the truest wave arrives slow. Imagine reading a message during lunch that doesn't move you, then finding yourself at the sink that night, suddenly hollowed by it. The words found their mark in the second or eighth reading. They needed your mind to change shape during the day, for your body to move through different rooms, for the thrum of the city or the croak of evening frogs to tune something in you. The text was a seed. The emotion was a rain. The feeling was a green shape you didn't expect. If this feels too patient for the world we live in, it is nevertheless how human emotions actually operate. They are not push-button machines. They are weather systems that point in 4 directions at once. Good text honors weather. It says, I won't tell you what to feel, but I will build a sky under which you can feel it. And the reader, who is also a maker, who is also a body in a chair or a bus or under a blanket, says, all right, show me the clouds you made. I'll see what rain I have. This is not a way of lowering standards. It's a way of defending the highest. When you cry into a book, the author does not appear to wipe your cheek. You did the wiping yourself. Does that make the tears less real? Or does it mean the text granted you the privacy in which the real could happen? Let's go back to the 3-word text, come home now. Why do those particular words vibrate? Because they imply a web, home, a place that exists both on the map and in the body. Now, the pressure of urgency, the string pulled taut. Come. The invitation dressed as command, the command softened by an invitation. In 3 words, an entire choreography of care and fear. Anything could be waiting. A surprise cake, a missing cat found, a crisis, a birth. Yet even without knowing, something real has moved through you. Possibility itself can be felt. In that space between what's said and what it might mean, the body prepares. That preparation is not pretend. In all this, there is responsibility. If text can carry truth, then the people who write are charged with a particular ethics. Do not counterfeit when you can afford the real. Do not weaponize vagueness. Do not pretend to be braver on the page than you intend to be in the world. If you use the page to commit, then keep the promise you made with letters. And if you tell a story that calls forth tears, let it be because the story was finally clear enough to hold them, not because you tugged at strings like a child discovering marionettes. There is also the responsibility of the reader, to read with the generosity you have available, to test a sentence against your life, to put a book down if it asks you to bleed for it and offers nothing in return. Text is a communion, not a conquest. In the best of it, someone you have never met says, there is a room in my house where I kept a box of orange peels like trophies, and you laugh because you too once cherished something silly and secret, and now these 2 small absurdities light each other up. In the worst of it, a stranger says, you must feel this, and you do not, and it is your right not to. But the question remains like a bell, struck and ringing. Can text alone transmit genuine emotion? Standing now at the middle of this chapter, I say yes, and I say it without hedging. I say yes because text is a means by which minds lean toward each other until they touch. I say yes because I have sat up in bed at 3 a.m. after reading a sentence that knocked on the door of a grief I thought I'd moved out of. I say yes because when my friend sent me a photograph of a small blue sock, the only thing the dog had not chewed, you would think the emotion was in the photograph, but it was in the caption, he left me one. The comedy of it, the tenderness, the tiny deference to loss. Sometimes we don't know what we feel until we write it. Text does not just transmit emotion, it can discover it. In naming a thing, we find where it lives. In revising a sentence from "I'm angry" to "I'm afraid I'll be forgotten," the writer is not decorating the truth but excavating it. And when that excavated line reaches a reader who has spent weeks being unkind to themselves for the wrong reason, there is more than recognition, there is relief. That relief, the exhale, that unclenches a jaw, happened because of text. The future, people say, belongs to images and voices. And so it does, as every future always has. But it also belongs to the slow medium that lets us hear ourselves in another and another in ourselves. When your phone loses signal and you are stuck on a subway with one downloaded essay, when you are in a waiting room where voices stain the air and words on paper are the only clean window, when you are 15 and there is no one who understands, and then you find a paragraph that opens like a door in a wall, you will not ask if the emotion it carries is genuine. You will know. I haven't yet told you about the night my student brought me a letter she found in a thrift store book. The letter, written by a soldier to a girl named Ruth, dated the 18th of August 1943. "I found your handkerchief in my pocket 3 days after you left," he wrote, "and I kept taking it out as if it were a clue to a math problem." That sentence is text, and it is also a boy, turning his confusion into an image that feels like the exact size of his feeling. We will look closely at that image in the next chapter, because it shows the craft of conveying true feelings without announcing them. We will diagram how text carries heat without smoke, how it invites without begging, how it uses the reader's memory as oxygen, how it knows when to stop. Before we go there, I want to give you one more small experiment. Write in your mind a message to someone you have not thanked. Do not write the reasons at first. Write only, "I keep thinking about the day you stayed late." Now add one detail. You rewound the projector when everyone else had gone. Add a second. "I didn't ask you to. You didn't make a show of it." Ask yourself what you feel now. If it is something like the stirring of gratitude, you have just proven to yourself what this chapter has argued. The feeling traveled through a sentence that you made to you. There is more to say about how to do this well for lovers and friends, for colleagues, for strangers, for writers, for the scared and the brave. There is more to say about limitations and misuse, but the ground is laid. The quiet voltage of words is alive in your hand. You can hear the hum if you place your ear to the page. You can feel the tremor of "I'm here." You can tell the difference between the sentence that was written only to be seen and the sentence that was written to touch. You can carry both away and choose which to hold close. We began with a 3-word message. Let me end with one, though perhaps it is more a promise than a message. I will write. It is the sentence that turns emotion into an offering. It does not guarantee that anyone will receive it, or that what they receive will be what you sent. It does not protect you from misunderstanding or indifference, but it claims the instrument that, in the hands of the careful and the ordinary and the scared and the stubborn, has always carried truth across impossible distances. It says, "I will make a text shaped like my real heart, not merely its advertisement. I will trust you, a stranger, to meet it part way." In the next chapter, we will learn how to do that, how to line our words with breath, how to let silence do its good work, how to make a sentence that arrives not as an announcement, but as a presence We will stand in the workshop where genuine emotion is not dressed up but drawn out, and we will try our hands. For now, keep the 3 words that started us in your pocket as you walk. Come home now. The home of this question, the place where text and feeling share a roof, is not far. The light is on. Chapter 2. The Workshop of Feeling. On the faded onion skin paper, the soldier's handwriting leans as if walking uphill. I found your handkerchief in my pocket 3 days after you left, he writes to Ruth, and I kept taking it out as if it were a clue to a math problem. That single sentence holds more tenderness than a dozen declarations. It does not say, I miss you terribly. It enacts the missing. The handkerchief is small but tactile, a thing a hand can fumble with, and the comparison to a math problem signals the mind's restlessness. He keeps returning, looking for a solvable pattern in what is finally not solvable. The emotion is not asserted, it is discovered by the reader in the mind's motion. If we're going to understand how text alone transmits genuine emotion, we must study this sentence the way a luthier studies a violin's body. We have to ask, why does this vibrate? What parts of craft resonate against the strings in a human reader? First, there is specificity. A handkerchief is not a thing. It anchors the scene in a world with linen and pockets and departure. Second, there is a gesture. Taking it out, putting it away, taking it out again. Gesture is the grammar of feeling. It translates motion into meaning. Third, there is an analogy that reveals interiority without forcing it. A clue to a math problem, not the answer itself, but a piece that suggests an answer might exist. The sentence allows uncertainty to speak. It honors the truth that emotion often lives beside the unsolved. In other words, text transmits genuine emotion when it gives us a sequence of observable particulars through which the emotion can be inferred and felt. The craft is not a trick. It's a fidelity to how emotions move in real life, indirect, folded into objects, expressed as repetitions, carried by time. Let's step into the workshop. 1. The vocabulary of silence. Silence on the page is not emptiness. It is a load-bearing beam. Consider the difference between I am angry at you because you forgot my birthday, and that made me feel unimportant, and you set the cake on the counter on Thursday, I cleaned the crumbs on Friday. The second leaves space for the reader to assemble the feeling. The spacing between days is the silence in which the hurt grows audible. A page break, a short stanza, a sentence placed alone, these are the writer's ways of making room. Emotion needs this room the way lungs need air. The silence is not manipulation. It is the condition in which a reader can arrive with their own breath. In messages, silence looks like a line break. The interval before a reply, the decision to end a sentence earlier than comfort allows. I'll be late. Lock the door. The lacuna between lines carries seriousness. If the writer rushes to soften it, I'll be late, lol, sorry, lock the door, the seriousness leaks away. This is not a rule to punish playfulness. It's a reminder that we choose the amount of air around our words, and air changes heat. 2. Friction, risk, and the grain of the voice. Polish can be the enemy of truth. We all know the sentence that has been sanded so smooth it can't hold on to anything. Real feeling often has a burr. It doubles back, contradicts itself, reveals what the speaker wishes were not visible. I wanted you to be proud of me, and I wanted you to leave me alone, someone writes. That "and" carries electricity. Not this or that, but this and that. The friction between the two makes sparks. Risk is the writer's willingness to be specific where it would be safer to generalize. I'm bad at love is a posture. I left your text on read because I couldn't bear the small good thing when I hadn't earned it, is a risk. The reader feels the difference because the second line treats the reader as capable of holding something delicate and odd. Respect is one of the mediums emotion travels through. When a writer respects the reader can respect the feeling. The transaction is dignified. 3. The physics of sequence. Order matters. The same 3 sentences can generate different feelings depending on sequence. A. It rained. I went to the store. I missed you. B. I missed you. It rained. I went to the store. It rained. I missed you. I went to the store. Ed Friende. In A, the missing feels like a quiet realization arriving late. In B, the world follows the feeling. Rain becomes atmosphere rather than event. In C, the missing interrupts an errand. The store becomes an act of coping. None of these is inherently superior. The question is, what is the feeling's true tempo? Arrange the world around it accordingly. Sequence, in text, is a way of saying, this is the weight-bearing wall. Once we know which wall holds the house, we can place the windows where they belong. 4. The body in the sentence. A sentence does not only carry meaning, it carries body. Long sentences are physical. They require breath control. They mimic effort, obsession, continuity. Short sentences drop weight. They suggest decision, shock, acceptance. Varied sentences let the reader's nervous system move. If you want to transmit awe, you might move from a quick intake of breath to a long viewing. The door opened. Inside, the ceiling went on and on, a night sky pinned with gold that had somehow learned to be patient, to hover there while we swallowed our smallness. When you craft the page so a body can read it, the body recognizes itself. This is why a single word said alone can crush a paragraph of explanation. Place stay on its own line after a torrent of argument, and you will feel how text asks the reader to bring a body to a threshold and decide to stand there. 5. The instruments of honesty. Genuine emotion travels best in text that admits complexity. The instruments are simple, concrete detail. Your socks yellow, mismatched. Time, 4 minutes after you left, the kettle clicked. Place, in the parking lot beneath the sycamores where chewing gum turns to fossils. Action, I opened the window and closed it again, like a person changing their mind at a door. Contradiction, I wanted to forgive you and I wanted you to have to ask. Proportion, your apology was longer than the mistake. I didn't know what to do with the change. These are not recipes, they are instruments. A violinist does not play by checklist. They listen and respond. In writing, the listening is to the scene itself, what it offers, what it hides, what rhythm it prefers, and to the reader, who must not be shoved but invited. 6. Misreadings, repairs, and the grace of clarification. Text is famously vulnerable to misreading. The reader's day, the reader's history, the reader's language, these shape what a line becomes. So the writer who wishes to convey real feeling also learns the craft of repair. When you sense a message was received with heat you did not intend, resist the instinct to defend syntax. Rewrite with the reader's likely weather in mind. Original, I can't do this right now. Repair, I want to keep talking, and I'm at the edge of what I can say well tonight. Can we pause and pick it up tomorrow at 9? Original. It's fine. Repair. I'm not angry, but I am bruised. I'd like you to know that. Repair is not capitulation. It is a recommitment to the purpose of the text, not to win, but to make contact that can carry truth. Clarification itself can be an act of tenderness, an admission that the first attempt was too small to hold what was true. 7. Cultural codes and the elasticity of tone. What reads as warmth in one culture reads as invasion in another. What reads as restraint in one context reads as cruelty elsewhere. The writer's task is not to flatten these differences, it is to respect them. If your reader lives in a code of indirectness, you can be specific without being blunt. You can use example rather than edict. If your reader expects directness, you can be clear without being harsh. You can name the boundary without naming the person as a problem. Consider the sentence, "You should come by sometime." In some places, it means, "Please come." In others, it means, "Do not come." A writer who wishes to transmit genuine feeling never outsources meaning to a fragile idiom. They build enough context that the feeling can stand on its own feet. We eat early on Tuesdays. If you can come this Tuesday at 6, we'll have a chair for you right here. Now, the invitation has legs and a seat. 8. The short forms. Texts, notes, captions. Often we have only a handful of characters. That is not a limit, it is a form. The haiku's brevity doesn't prevent it from carrying seasons. The condensed message can carry sincerity if it carries decision, a gratitude that fits in one line. "You stayed until the lights came on, I noticed." A condolence that fits in two. "I can't touch the size of this. I can carry soup." A love note that fits in 3. "I bought plums we can't afford. Please hurry home." Short forms reward images doing emotional work, verbs doing the lifting, and the writer's awareness of the reader's life. If your friend is in a train station, you write for the train station. "Send me the platform number. I will be on it." That line is a hand on the elbow. The body feels moved to a place it can stand. 9. The long forms. Letters, diaries, essays. Length allows development, the slow reveal, the revisiting, the pattern that becomes meaning. The risk here is dilution. Real feeling gets thinner when padded. The craft is to let the reader's attention metabolize the feeling at a humane pace, with enough variation to oxygenate the line. Watch this sequence in a letter, a concrete beginning. "I saw your coat hanging from the last hook, the one that tilts." A time jump that deepens. "I remember when we installed those hooks and argued about whether they should line up with the molding." An admission that risks, "I wish I had told you that day that I loved how particular you are." An image that carries now. "Today I straightened all the hooks and then tilted yours back on purpose." A boundary that cares. "I don't want to make you a museum. I want to keep living. Help me by writing back with one unremarkable thing you did this week." And Cain. The letter moves across time, carries practical love, write back with one unremarkable thing, and refuses to turn feeling into an artifact. That refusal is a form of honesty. We are not building shrines. We are building rooms people can live in. The reader feels the difference. 10. Templates that are not templates. No formula replaces attention, but faithful shapes exist. They are not scripts to memorize. They are skeletal structures that help you hold weight without buckling. Here are 4, reduced to their bones and then clothed in example. Apology shape. Name the action, name the impact, accept responsibility, offer repair, ask consent. Example, I missed the appointment I said I'd make. You waited and rearranged your day. I chose sleep over our plan, and I didn't warn you. I can call the clinic now and reschedule us for Thursday, and I can drive. Is that okay with you? Gratitude shape. Name the act, name what it cost, name what it changed in you. Example, you read the whole draft. That took hours, and it took patience for my looping sentences. Because of you, I believe the ending can be gentle and still true. Boundary shape. Name your limit, name your care. Offer an alternate. Example, I can't talk about Dad tonight. I love you, and I want to be present when we do. Could we make coffee for Saturday morning instead? He won. Condolence shape. Acknowledge scale. Name one specific. Offer one concrete help. Promise presence. Example. There aren't words large enough for this. I keep seeing the way she tucked her hair behind her ear when she thought a small moon of care. I'll leave groceries on your porch at 4. I'll be here next week too. These shapes transmit genuine emotion because they respect both the feeling and the other person's autonomy. 11. The honest no, the brave yes. Emotion is often carried by the simplest verbs: yes, no, wait, go, stay, help. The power of these in text is their refusal to decorate, but their simplicity hides a skill. You must aim them precisely. A dishonest yes, sure, that's fine. An honest no, I want to, and I can't do it well. No, for now. A brave yes, I don't know how to be there, but I want to try. Yes. Notice how the honest line names the desire and the limit, or the fear and the willingness. It lets the reader hold a human being, not a slogan. That is how text does its truest work, by being large enough to contain a person, small enough to be carried in the palm. 12. Memory, repetition, and the ritual of return. Repetition, used with care, becomes ritual. Ritual becomes meaning. A line that returns, "Tell me one unremarkable thing," can anchor a friendship across seasons. The reader comes to expect it, to relax into it, to measure the weeks by it. This is how communities build themselves with words, by creating small, dependable structures. Every Sunday the same question goes out. Every Sunday another unremarkable thing comes back, and an unremarkable life gleams with the remark that someone is there to witness it. We mistrust repetition because marketing abuses it, but ritual is the form care often prefers. The genuine shows up without needing to reinvent itself each time. The text that says, unfancily, "Good morning, did you sleep?" can carry more love than a flourish of adjectives. The key is attention behind repetition. If the question is alive, if you truly want to know, the reader feels it. 13. The ethics of the page. If text can carry the real, it can also counterfeit it. Craft can make a lie sound true. The ethical responsibility, then, is to align craft with conscience. Ask yourself, is this sentence proportionate to the truth? Am I using metaphor to illuminate or to distract? Am I pressuring the reader to feel something they have not freely chosen to feel? Ethical text makes room for refusal. It implies permission. If you have space, I'd like to tell you something hard. It does not smuggle consent into a flourish. It does not stage a tragedy for applause. The gauge is simple. Does the line deepen reality for both people, or does it drain one to inflate the other? There is also the matter of privacy. We can write our feelings without offering up another person's life to an audience that hasn't earned it. The craft solution is to focus on your side of the window. When you left, I learned I had built my morning around the sound of your keys. The feeling is yours. The detail is yours. The dignity of the other remains intact. 14. The strange consolation of objects. Language is excellent at letting objects carry the weight our throats can't. In grief, a mug can be a reliquary. In a beginning, a receipt can be a vow. Write the thing. Let the thing stand for the word that trembles. He left a lemon on the counter with a note. For the water, for the morning. I have never loved a citrus so much. On the way home, the bag of rice broke. We scooped grains with our hands for 20 minutes, laughing. I think we accidentally married each other in the kitchen. We feel the truth because objects are stubborn. They resist exaggeration. If the writer is tempted to inflate, the thing itself pulls the line back to scale. 15. The reader as co-maker. All of this presumes a reader who is willing to meet the text halfway. That presumption is not naivete, it is an invitation. Writers can cultivate that willingness by treating the reader as an equal, with curiosity, with generosity, with permission to set the book down. Paradoxically, the writer who says, "You can go," increases the chance the reader will stay. Freedom is one of the carriers of genuine feeling. Coercion kills it. This is why the most moving sentences often sound like offers, not orders. Walk with me if you like. Here's the small thing I saw. Perhaps you have seen one like it. I don't know, but I'm listening. 16. A map of tiny examples. To make this practical, here are small lines that have moved actual lives, not because they're clever, but because they are alive. I'm in the lobby. No rush. I took notes. You can borrow my memory. I watered the plant and I told it your name. I don't need you to be braver than you are. Sit. When I say I'll try, I want you to hear me promise to fail forward with you. I threw the bottle cap in the drawer so we could wonder where it came from next year. They're specific, a little odd, proportionate. You can feel the person behind them. That feeling of a person is the central evidence that text carries genuine emotion. We are not moved by words alone. We are moved by the sense of someone using words to reach us. 17. An exercise in building presence. If you wish to test the claim, try this exercise in your own head. Choose someone you care for. Write 3 lines silently. Situation. It is raining. Your bus is late. Observation. Your shoelace has come untied and you don't notice. Action. I am walking toward you with my hand open. Feel what happens in your chest. The lines use almost no emotion words. The feeling arrives because a scene exists, and in it, care moves. Your own imagination becomes the projector. The emotion is not imaginary, it is embodied. Your heart answers. 18. The future of feeling in words. People tell us the future belongs to streaming, to live video, to the real-time spectacle. They are not wrong, but the page has a future because it gives us ownership of pace. Pace is mercy. In the turbulence of a day, we need mediums that allow us to pull over, to walk, to rewind 2 sentences and understand. Text can be a slow lane with good shoulders. In that slow lane, the most human thing we do notice, compare, confess, correct, forgive, can happen without horns. Nothing in this book argues that text is superior to voice or touch, only that it is sufficient capable when crafted and read with care, sufficient to make a stranger's grief tremble in your own throat, sufficient to send steady heat across a winter, sufficient to say, stay in a way that brings someone back to a chair. Text's endurance is not an accident. It is engineered into us. We arrange marks, we share them, we read them, we change. The technology changes, the muscle does not. The hand that wrote to Ruth on onion skin paper knew something the thumbs in our era know too, that across distance we build a bridge out of attention and cross it carrying whatever we can carry. Before we end, return to the soldier's letter not as artifact, but as teacher. Why did a clue to a math problem work? Because it did not hide confusion, it located it. Because it did not flatter the writer, it made him smaller, someone looking for an answer. Because it did not steal Ruth's role. It left room for her to read herself into the scene, to decide whether his searching deserved a reply. This is the humility of genuine emotion in text. It makes a place rather than taking one. So, let me write, here at the end, a few lines that attempt the same plainness. They are not clever. They are only true. I keep saving you the first slice because you like the slightly burnt edge. Today I ate it by mistake and laughed for 10 minutes alone in the kitchen. I'm writing to tell you because it felt like getting away with nothing, and I wanted you to know. And I have to tea saving dawn, and he have the table do as takes after 9. Or, this, for a time of dark, I pressed my ear to the window and listened for the smallest thing that was still living. It was the rain on the railing, counting in a language I couldn't speak. I am writing to say, I hear it, I am still here. Or this, for resolution, I thought I needed the right words to finish this. I needed the right promise. Here it is. I will try to keep saying exactly what I mean, even when my sentences show the parts of me I still don't understand. I will risk that because I want you not just to read me, but to touch what is true. Perhaps those lines find you in a hallway that smells faintly of after rain. Perhaps your thumb is on the screen edge of a day. I cannot see you. You cannot hear my breath. All we have are marks on a field. And yet, if your chest has softened, if your jaw has unclenched, if your eyes have found a wetness they weren't planning to show, then something has crossed. Not a trick, not a performance. A small charge of the real. Care, gratitude, grief, possibly joy. Can text alone transmit genuine emotion? Yes. It has done so for centuries whenever a person was willing to say the exact true thing and another person was willing to listen with their own life. The circuitry is plain. Attention, specificity, sequence, silence, risk, proportion, respect. The rest is the small miracle of us being built to receive each other. The book closes now, but the workshop keeps its lights on. Inside it, every day, there is someone at a table with a letter half written, a message unsent, a sentence waiting for its right verb. There is a hand on a door, not yet pushing. There is a mouth learning how to say, stay with a single character. There is a reader on a bus pretending to have allergies. There is the bright indignity of being moved by ink. There is the dignity that follows. To move and to be moved is to be alive. So write the text that does not pretend. Write the text that asks rather than demands. Write the text that uses its silence wisely. Write the text that tells the truth about your small kitchen and your too loud heart. And when you receive a text like that, let it do its work. Let it set a chair in your day and sit in it. Let it count the rain on your railing until the counting becomes a kind of music. And if you have only 3 words to spend them like this: I am here.